You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free biweekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan.
Welcome, everybody, to another QuickBooks Online update and Facebook group Q&A today. Glad to have you joining us to another QB Power Hour. We're very glad to have you joining us today. My name is Michelle Long. I am a CPA with an MBA in entrepreneurship and the owner of Long for Success. Been a trainer for Intuit, contract trainer for Intuit since 2007. So very glad to be with you today from Keystone, Colorado, where it is snowing today. We were supposed to have a blizzard with lots of snow, but it's late getting here, but we are getting snow today. So hopefully we'll get lots of fresh snow, but glad to have you joining us. Glad to be here today. Dan, where are you? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Dan DeLong, owner of Dan Witt. I worked at Intuit for nearly 18 years. Currently still in Florida, seeing what that snowbird lifestyle is all about. But we'll be heading north shortly, but we'll hopefully not before the spring thaw. A little bit about the QB Power Hour. Now you can go ahead and stop sharing, Michelle, if you are. We tried this new thing where we were sharing at the same time so that we could just jump right into the Power Hour today. A little bit about the Power Hour. It's every other Tuesday at noon Eastern, regardless of where located. We've done it from the Bahamas. We've even done it on site at Scaling New Heights a couple times. So that's interesting how we can do these things, but they're not eligible for CPE. You can always check our website for upcoming events, as well as the resources at qbpowerhour.com/resources for the podcast recordings and the slides. A little bit of the housekeeping. If you have any questions about topics that we're talking about here today, please put them in the Q&A, as well as if you have any comments about just anything in general, please put them in the chat. As well as if you have any handouts or the handouts are links available there, I will put those in the comments in the chat as well so that we can make sure that you have those handy. Some new things for 2024 that we want to talk about. We are simulcasting, and that's part of our challenge that we have trying to figure out the technology of all of this, but we're simulcasting inside the Facebook group. I do see some folks are joining us from there today already. I'm trying to see that, yes, we have a couple people on YouTube as well as in the Facebook group. But if you are in the Facebook group and you want to be part of the conversation and you want us to be able to see who you are, you'll have to acknowledge or grant permission to the streaming service that we're using. And there's a little QR code to do that. Because the settings inside the Facebook group is private, it's set to private. It just doesn't, you have to acknowledge or allow that service to be able to see who you are in your Facebook profile. Otherwise, it'll just show up as Facebook user and we won't know who you are to be able to discuss anything online or during the webinar today. And the QB Power Hour is a labor of love for Michelle and myself, but for sure. And we incur some expenses and we take those on. We sometimes can recruit that with some app partners that we work with, but we've also decided to start a store to be able to keep this thing going. So if you want to pick up some swag to help out Michelle and I, you certainly can. There's a QR code there or a link to it from the handouts as well. I'm trying to put things up there that are power related or time related. The Power Hour. So we have wireless chargers, we have coffee mugs because you can recharge with coffee as well as electricity. And then maybe we'll have some clock or Apple Watch bands or things like that, swags that you can get there. So I appreciate if you have the time and you want to check it out, please do, and all that. So today's agenda was basically I can't think of the word, but it's a spillover from when we had Intuit on before. This when we were talking about the QuickBooks Tax Live product incorporating there, and we wanted to field some questions from our Facebook group, but we never got to that because we ended up talking to Intuit the whole time. So we want to field those questions from the Facebook group itself as part of today. So we'll launch our first poll. There we go. Where are we? Now where's the polls? There they are. Okay. All right. You can launch it now. What percentage of your clients are in QuickBooks Online? While you're answering that, and we can see the answers coming in. So Michelle, you're in Keystone, Colorado.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. We tried Hunter, New York a couple of weeks ago and did get good fresh powder snow there. So my husband's, hey, I want to get some fresh snow. So he's got a season pass. So he's got an epic pass. And so he wanted to try again. So here we are at Keystone because we haven't done Keystone yet this year. And Keystone's kind of our home base, it seems, for skiing. I found a place. I kept watching, looking for a place to open up. And so here we are at Keystone now, still chasing the snow. We are getting snow today. So hopefully he'll get
All
some.
right.
So
So hopefully we'll, after we're done here today, then you can hit the slope. Right.
yeah, he hits the slopes. And I was watching yesterday. I was sitting at the mountain house and doing a little work and watching everybody ski and stuff. And I remembered how much fun it is to ski and watching everybody, getting on the lifts and ski air and all that. And I also remembered how painful it is on the knees and the back. And it's a lot of work. But anyway, it's always good to be here doing a power hour though with all these people. And boy, we got some great topics today from that Facebook group. And I saw Rachel here and she had a big question and a big thing to discuss. So great topics today. So glad to be here.
All right. So we'll go ahead and stop this poll and just talk a little bit about the power users group. We had to rename it because of some of the history of with you and Hector. You want to talk a little bit about the group itself?
Sure. Yeah. Hector and I started that a long time ago. And the intent was, everybody kept asking Hector and I lots of questions, just as everybody does. Everybody always has lots of questions for each other and stuff. And everybody was asking all these questions. And it was just a great way on Facebook for people to help each other, because that's what I saw when we were doing the live training events. When people would ask questions, I never knew all the answers. Nobody ever knows all the answers, but people can help each other because we all have so many vast experiences and experience with different apps, with different problems that we've encountered with clients in different situations. And so that's where the Facebook group is such an amazing resource, because it's people helping each other. And we all have vast amounts of resources and experiences with different apps and different industries. And so you can help one another. And that's what I love about it, is people helping each other. And so there's, what is it now? 20,000 out there with maybe 9 active.
We just passed 16,000, which is really cool because when you and I started, it was probably half that.
Yeah.
And it was still a very active Facebook group. And I've seen this Facebook group mentioned in the Firm of the Future articles by top 5 book groups to be a part of. So it's pretty cool to be a part of that. And one of the things that I really like about the Facebook group in general is that people give as much as they get, as they take. A lot of people are active and they're very giving of their time and their knowledge and their expertise. The fact that when I was running some statistics on the group, 9,000 of the people are active, right? Typically, there's a lot of people in there that just groups and then consume, right? Like they get some information from it but don't participate. The fact that we have such a high participation rate is pretty phenomenal. And I gotta say, the group itself we have some Intuit presence in there as well, but it's not designed as a way to bypass the support channels. I was just having a nice discussion with someone today and talking about the situation that they were having with trying to deal with Intuit support. And I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt and Intuit as far as reach out to them first. And I see a lot of people just tag certain Intuit individuals that tend to be in there. And it's not designed for that. It's not designed for easy access to somebody on Intuit, because that's not scalable. Because if those people are doing other things and not just necessarily monitoring our group for help. But when we hear you, and we certainly understand that it can be very frustrating when you have to bounce around to different people over and over again and explain your tale of woe, and that's not billable time. that you can bill back to your customer and everything. And you really want to get an answer really quick. And Rachel is saying, yeah, go to Dan over at School of Bookkeeping and quick answer. That is the idea of that, is to circumvent needing to talk to Intuit, because you might be able to get your answer before you even talk to Intuit. But one of the things that we want to start to implement in the Facebook group is giving back, because some of the value, some of the information that they're on there is really valuable. We are going to be starting to work with a donation marketplace, so that when an issue is solved and we see that there's no way to tag all of these Facebook posts that they're solved like you can with some of these community boards and forums and things. But when we see that an issue is solved, we're going to suggest that you give back. And as it may not be, okay, we'll pay it forward, but actually paying it to a donation of your choice, right? So whatever you feel the value of that information is in the Facebook group, we'll ask you and promote you to donate. It's all totally up to you anyway to do that. But this way we'll have people helping people. And I'd love to be able to say next year, like this Facebook group donated X amount of dollars or helped with some charity with regards to our community. Any thoughts on that, Michelle?
I just think it's great because it's a win. And so many times, I just love it because so many times people are like, gosh, this just helped me so much. And it gives you such a good feeling. And that way you can go and help someone else as well and just keep sharing that. And so I just think it's great. Win, win, win. I love it.
So let's pop into some of the more common questions that I've been seeing over the past couple months since we've done this. We try to do this quarterly or every so often to comb through some of the hot topics. Right? Okay, so Desktop Pro and Premier. This is a huge hot topic, especially for accountants who still have desktop clients. The Chicken Little end is near, sky is falling. Insert your own moniker here. Exactly. But this year is really interesting when it comes to what's happening with Pro and Premier and Desktop, right? Sarah had asked, so am I missing something, or are the only purchase options for 2024 either Enterprise or QBO? It appears that way on the website. And that's also the indication we're getting from our cloud service provider. And then they edited to add, and there's a link in the slides to go directly to that post. But it is very confusing and puzzling about needing to purchase Desktop Pro and Premier. So we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening this coming year, right? If you want to purchase Pro and Premier, you got to call Intuit, right? Intuit has painstakingly removed Pro and Premier Desktop, and this is for Mac as well as Windows, from retail establishments. You used to be able to get your Depot or Costco and purchase it was basically a download in a box, which is weird, but you buy a box and that would give you the license number so that you could download it in your computer. But they've gone through the entire retail channels. You can't buy it on Amazon. You can't even get it through a QuickBooks solution provider anymore. So the only way to get it is to go and call Intuit, which now leads the question or leads the conversation to, hey, have you thought about QuickBooks Online, which now has this problem with, okay, you as an accountant or bookkeeper, accounting professional have recommended, the 2021 is going to sunset or service discontinuation. You got to upgrade. And the only place to do that is by calling Intuit, but they're going to have this conversation about QuickBooks Online during that process. It is weird, and it puts you as an accounting professional and Intuit on the opposite sides of the fence, because all you're trying to do is service your clients and get them what they need. And they have to call Intuit, which Intuit's doing what Intuit does, has those conversations. And on top of that, on 7/31, they're not even going to be selling new subscriptions to QuickBooks Pro, Premier, Plus. There's too many P's in that sentence, right?
It's a
So,
positively
mobile
perfect alliteration.
and then they have payroll, what was the PPP on top of it. But on 7/31, they're not going to be selling any new subscription. In theory, anybody who's on Premier Plus will be in a subscription at that point, because 2021 is the last year's version of QuickBooks Desktop that you could buy as standalone product, right? There's no phone number for QuickBooks Desktop sales. You scrape through your website and what do I have to do? It's really hard. I found a link to purchase it online. You're not purchasing QuickBooks online. You're purchasing QuickBooks Desktop. If I click on it, we'll see what happens here. So this is available to you. It allows you to be able to just purchase QuickBooks Desktop Pro Plus or QuickBooks Desktop Premier Plus or QuickBooks Desktop Mac Plus right online. Don't even have to talk to Intuit, and just give this to your client and say, hey, if you got to upgrade and get yourself into a subscription, please do this here, because you're not going to be able to do this after 7/31. And as long as you're in a subscription, that should allow you to stay in that subscription until Intuit changes the game again. Right? Any thoughts about that? Yeah.
So Dan, can you address how does this affect us as ProAdvisors? Okay. Because some people were saying, wait a minute, I keep buying the ProAdvisor program because I need it for conversions. And I mentioned the conversion tool. So can you talk about how does this affect us as ProAdvisors and the ProAdvisor program and all of that? So can you address us specifically and the accountant's version and everything? So you mentioned that, okay, for us buying for our clients, we can avoid calling Intuit by going to this link that you found, and let's hope it keeps working. And I think you said that you think Intuit put that there as a response to feedback from us, from accounting professionals.
Because this is a link. If I look at the site here, it's quickbooks.intuit.com. And then it's got email, final desktop plus sale, right? And this is the way to be able to order it. Now, I don't know if you can get multiple seats, right? Because it is saying Desktop Pro Plus, and that's $649 a year, which is a 1-seat license. However, if that's all your customer needs, they can certainly do that. So to address your question about ProAdvisors, right? So there's a Premier and an Accountant desktop add-on that you can add to your ProAdvisor membership, which was the way it was before, where you paid for it and then they started to do the QBOA Accountant, and there was a free only, and then you had the desktop add-on. So you have this online only advisor, and then Premier, which is the Premier Accountant Edition, and then Enterprise, which is the Enterprise. You also got Mac as well as Point of Sale, but those two ships have sailed. That's really just Enterprise. So if you have clients that you still need to service and they're sending you their file back and forth, and you're doing something inside of your own version of QuickBooks, then you still want to have that desktop add-on to be able to access those products. You'll have the current year's version. When you sign up for that add-on, you get the current year's version and every other version that comes on after that, right? So you sign up today, which I don't even know if you can right today, but if you sign up today, you're going to get 2024, and presumably if there is a 2025, each year that has a new version will be automatically part of your Camps account, your Intuit account. So you'll be able to download that from there. So if you have those clients, you will want to have that desktop add-on. They are forcing that conversation by steadily increasing the prices of all of these. I think it's now $12.99 for the Enterprise and $7.99 for the Premier, which is a yearly commitment on your part. It's a yearly subscription, but it doesn't stop if you stop the subscription. That's one of the unique things about the Accountant desktop add-ons and end users. If you stop your desktop add-on, the versions of QuickBooks that you've already downloaded and are using will still continue to work as of today, right? Who knows what happens tomorrow, but as of today, if you cancel your enterprise subscription with ProAdvisor desktop add-on or the Premier, those will still function in perpetuity, right? The service discontinuation is only going to affect versions that are no longer supported for additional services, online services like payroll, payments, the accountant's transfer service, downloading currency exchange rates, those types of things are only dealing with that. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that was very helpful. And a lot of people were saying, because I mentioned the conversion tool, a lot of people were pointing out that you need to clean up desktop prior to converting. And
exactly.
And yes, I understand that. Some people pointed out that they like to use the list and start a fresh file in online. And I agree with that, like exporting a list from desktop, clean them up, and then import the list into QBO and go from there. I understand that too. There's a lot of different options. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a session on converting from desktop to online at Scaling New Heights in June. So I hope to see you guys there. But yes, there's a lot of options. I just wanted to make you aware, if you guys didn't realize it, there is a tool now for converting from desktop to online. So if you don't want to buy desktop anymore, you don't have to. There is that conversion tool. You can log in remotely, use the client's file to export those lists if that's what you do, and clean up the list, and then use that conversion tool to do it the other way if you want to do that. So there's different ways that you can do things. So we're just making you aware of all these different things.
Exactly. All right. And then there was this other post that we saw about what payroll service do accountants use, which I really found this really interesting because people were asking, this person, Amber, was asking, what payroll service do you use for your own bookkeeping, accounting, CPA firm? What's the cost? Payroll taxes get auto-drafted, positives, negatives. Does it been great? And how difficult is it to fix problems? Does it integrate with QBOA? Please elaborate. Just don't name the company. I'm in the industry. I want to know most of the vendors, right? And I found it really interesting how much people were not mentioning QuickBooks payroll through this whole process. There was OnPay, there was Gusto, there was Patriot, there was ADP, there were people that use QuickBooks desktop payroll. But then I finally popped in and like, you get it for free.
I know.
QBO Elite Payroll, when you're in QBOA, it's included. And then they commented and said, yes, we were using it. We don't want to. So here's an example. They can't give it away.
Even when it's free, nobody wants to use it. That's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was curious, and that's our next poll, is that, did you know that Elite Payroll is free for QBO account? We'll go ahead and launch that. The poll. Where'd it go? Oh, it's up here.
Yeah,
I have 4 monitors.
That's the problem. Is your cursor a big red cursor so you can at least find it on your 4 monitors, Dan?
No,
I always have
to. It's a Mac, so if I shake it like this, it gets big.
So see, I always make mine a big red cursor so I can find it easier. That's always helpful. But yeah, this is one of the things that always surprised me when we're doing training and stuff, is asking people, did you realize that as a ProAdvisor, this is one of your benefits, is that you get payroll free? And a lot of people don't realize that. Probably 50% of the people there don't realize that. But like you just pointed out, okay, of the 50% that realize, a lot of them don't want to use it anyway. Yeah. 40%.
That's why I wanted to ask the goal here of what is it that, did you even know it was what's an option? And if you're not using it, why aren't you using it? It's interesting to see some of the options in here coming through, and it was like we're almost at full participation from the poll. But I see things. Some people have trust issues when Intuit is dealing with their money. Maybe it's once bitten, twice shy type of thing, right?
Yeah.
If there was a billing issue with the wholesale billing or something that they had in the past, I'm not going to trust them with my payroll either, or something like that. So I'm going to end the poll here really quick, and I'm going to share that so people can see the results. 41% say, I knew about it's free and I'm still not going to use it. And then some are currently using it. And then 40% of the folks said, "This is news to me." Didn't even know was an option. But I'm interested about this follow-up question. If you don't use Elite Payroll, why not? Some people don't use QBO for their books. So that's about 25%. Most of it is that you're happy with your current payroll service. So it's quite an undertaking to change your payroll service at any time of the year, especially if it's mid-year. You really have to have an event in order for that to really want to change that. Or you don't have payroll. If you don't have employees, you don't need the payroll service. That's another option. So that was an interesting post. I just found it so intriguing that it took a while for somebody to mention QBOA payroll, like, you know, the Elite Payroll service. It was immediate. Like, no QBO. That's the whole idea why they're giving this stuff free, right? Like if you use your books for your practice and you use the payroll, then two things are going to happen.
Right.
You're either going to like it and recommend it, or you're not going to like it and not recommend it. I think that's the case.
Well,
for QBO payroll.
I do want to throw one thing out there, because over the last, I don't know, year or two, I know QBO payroll has come a long way, because a lot of the complaints were it was really difficult to void a paycheck or correct a paycheck or make corrections or things like that. And I know QBO payroll has made a lot of improvements and listened to a lot of the feedback, and they have made a lot of changes and improvements in those areas. If you haven't looked at it recently, you might give them another look and see some of the updates over the past year. Give them a shout out for listening to the feedback and making improvement.
At least use it as a sandbox, right? So that maybe you can test things out and see if that functionality works for you or your clients before truly dissuading people from it or recommending.
Right.
All right. So moving on, this was another interesting where a journal entry was not matching in the bank feed. The situation was there was a credit card charge in the bank feed. There's a journal entry for the same dollar amount and the same date. Journal entries in the bank feed seem to have this hit or miss when it kind of matches. Now, this particular person posted this. They did put screenshots of the find match. The transaction was posted by Bookkeep. A lot of people were asking, why are you entering a multi-currency transaction on a journal entry? To begin with, that's the way that Bookkeep works, is it sends the journal entries into QuickBooks. And what this ultimately boiled down to was the fact that it was multi-currency. And Hector even tried to duplicate this issue in the comments. And that's ultimately why it didn't match, is because the multi-currency was turned on. You could see in the screenshots that he posted that there wasn't an exact dollar amount match. And these are one of these things that you scratch your head and go like, why not? Why did it not match? But I thought that was an interesting call out, that if you are using multi-currency and journal entries are being posted, those bank feeds may not match the way you wanted them to. So this next one is a real big one that we want to spend a little time on. Robin, unfortunately, had a situation where she was doing a lot of these conversions for her clients and inadvertently overwrote her own data, the Your Books data, with the client data. Basically, everything got wiped out, because when you log in or convert from desktop to online, you choose the eligible company. It's going to list all of your clients or all of the companies that your login is tied to that are eligible to be imported into. Now, the Your Books that in the QBOA is one of those companies that has an extended import window. Not quite sure why. We can all theorize as to why that is. But when I was there, it was 20 years. You could import into 20 years. And I think as I recall, the thought behind that is that you won't be able to see the clients that are eligible if the firm wasn't eligible to be brought into. So that's why they made that import window so large for Your Books. The challenge is if you inadvertently choose use that set of books, which meaning your books that you're using. And this might be why people don't use your books is you can overwrite your data, right? And that's what happened to this individual. And unfortunately, it involves, there's no restore point. The data is overwritten, and it involves an engineering escalation, and it's a long manual process. And I think she's still in this situation where it's not been rolled back. But if you are using the firm books, the yearbook for your firm and the QBO payroll, it's basically everything's overwritten. She couldn't run payroll. She couldn't bill her clients because that data was gone, right? There is an online backup service for online advanced companies, right? Intuit acquired a company called ChronoBooks some years ago.
Before you move on, can we go back? Because I just want to share a story with you here, because I didn't think this could happen. And I know on that post, a lot of people were saying, no, this can't happen, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so years ago, I did have this happen where a client was importing a client's books. They were converting. So they were converting from desktop to online, and they had several companies that had a similar name. Blue Sky Auto Repair, Blue Sky, whatever. They accidentally overwrote another company of theirs, another client. And they had been to one of my trainings. Anyway, long story short, they called me almost literally. This is a grown man, almost in tears, because he realized what he had done. And he's begging, what can you do? I don't want to get sued and all this. Long story short, Intuit, says they cannot do this, but Intuit was able to help this client. I don't know how, but they were. And so they say they can. And I know it's a very rare occurrence, like they can't always, but somehow they were able to.
Yeah, I don't want to rely on this as
exactly.
As an
That's why it does happen. So in this case, it was your books, but it can happen to any of us where we get click happy when we're converting a client file and you accidentally pick the wrong client name. So that's why, Dan, you're getting ready to talk about the backup feature. It is so critical. We don't have to back up all of our clients all the time, but if you're doing something like converting or doing some of these things, it's a good idea to have this backup feature that you're getting ready to talk about because it can save us from a critical error, because you may not be able to get it back.
It's not, it's not perfect. And you don't want to rely on the Intuit engineering escalation to roll back your books. So in QuickBooks Online, there is a backup service for QuickBooks Online Advanced only. And unfortunately, that doesn't, QBO accountants, even though you're on advanced, you don't get it, right? Partially because your QBO accountant is a little bit different than an end user subscription, right? Your client backup, if you're using ProTax Connect or ProConnect Tax, all those things are added caveat to the QuickBooks Online accountant experience. So there was a time where they tried to turn it on and then they had to turn it off again. So you may have it available, but it may not be currently backing up for you for QBO accountants, but it's only available for QBO Advanced, which I thought was a really weird solution because it's redundantly backed up, right? Meaning that when you save something, you save an invoice, it is backed up, not just in one cloud, but also multiple clouds. So the data itself is redundantly backed up in the online Nebula server somewhere. But the thing about the online backup service in Advanced, it's restore points only, and not all data is going to be backed up anyway. So if you're running payroll, it's super challenging even for Intuit to back up its own data with regards to payroll. In this person's situation, if they did have this service, which they wouldn't have been able to because it was their QBOA, they at least would have been able to get their financial data back up and running and then be able to re-enter payroll, figure that out. But one of the things they do offer with this online backup service is a copy option. So you could feasibly copy your data or copy a data file from one to another. Again, not everything comes over, especially if you're using payroll, but the lion's share is going to move things over. And then when we had the author of the QBO for Dummies book, he has a way of actually downloading all of this data through this service and just utilizing it in Excel. So you can check those out, check that prior power hour as well. But what about everyone else? If you're on QBO Accountant, or if you're on Plus or Essentials, right? You're SOL when it comes to the online backup service, because you can't even sign up for it, even if you wanted to, inside of QuickBooks Online. So we had a Rewind on a few years back. They offer great online backup service. I do this one over the Chronobook because it not only does it do a restore point, but it also does individual transactions. Michelle, you were talking about the people that are click happy, right? They deleted a huge invoice, but you can actually go in and just restore that one transaction. So that's a really cool caveat to all of this. And they do have an accountant program where it's discounted for your firm $5. So it's only got to be their data that they're able to back up. And they're going to be restricted, just like Intuit Chronobooks is, by the API. So if you're running payroll, they won't be able to copy the payroll data. But it is going to be the financial data that is inside of the firm and the yearbook. And one of the neat parts about their accountant program is that you can add this as a service for your client, right? So, hey, you're not going to be able to back up your data, or you could sign up for this service too, or I could sign it up for you as well and manage your backups in my portal. If you had 100 clients, it's normally $14 a month for QuickBooks Online. It could be discounted to $567 per client, right? You could charge them whatever it is you want to charge them, right? Less than the $14 or what have you, just to maintain that, and you'll still have access to their services as well. So this is a great option for QBO accounts. If you don't do anything, $5 a month to back up your QBOA data, not a bad idea, because this person could have restored all that information, at least the financial information, got their payroll back up and running by working with the Elite Payroll Service, because that's what they're giving away. And they're on the hook for paying the taxes and filing on time. So they have a vested interest in getting that back up as well. Any thoughts or questions about that, Michelle? I was rambling on.
No, I just think it's a great idea. And some people might say, oh, it doesn't back out payroll, so I don't want to use it. You know what? Getting everything but payroll is still worth it. So you can get the payroll records from the filings and do journal entries if need be. You can recreate those and enter that manually if you had. So it's better to have a backup of a part of everything but payroll than no backup at all. When you're desperate, getting that backup is well worth $5 a month.
Exactly. Yeah. This other one, this was an interesting post because we went to it on to talk about the QuickBooks Live tax service that's going to start to be being offered to your clients. This was an interesting one because this was a chat that the customer was talking directly with an Intuit support agent. And you can see by the screenshot at the end, they were done. They started pitching them on the QuickBooks Live bookkeeping service. So it's one of those, hey, wait a minute, where did this one come from? Because they're already connected to an accountant. They could see that by looking at their subscription information and see all of those things. And the fact that the ProAdvisor is the primary admin of the subscription would make it even more of an issue, I think, for what was happening here. But here it is. Intuit is soliciting its own bookkeeping services to clients who are connected to an accountant. Something that they would say, we don't do everything perfect, but somebody had it in there. I can attest, you don't add these things unless you're told to, right? Someone told this person to make sure that they're offering this at the close of their chat. And there's some kind of,
it's in their script. It's in their script. It's in their guide of what they're supposed to be doing and saying when they're doing stuff. It's in there. It is. It says you're supposed to ask them about this, unfortunately. So the thing of it is, and this is where I have such mixed feelings about this, because yes, Intuit's competing with us, but so are all these other companies out there. And the reality here is the vast majority of us don't have the capacity to do all these tax returns anyway. We don't have the capacity for more 1040 clients and stuff like this anyway, but it's just annoying. It's annoying that Intuit does it and they say they don't do it, but they are doing it and we see them doing it, but they say, oh no, we're not doing that. And they are. And so it's annoying that they're competing with us like this for our clients. And so I don't know.
Yeah. And Linda brought up a good question. Is this solicitation perhaps from AI? No, when I was there and I was a chat agent, through the multitude of things that I did for Intuit, they had these things called canned responses, right? So like when you close your chat, I would still have to initiate that canned response. Usually there's a survey or something like that. That way I don't have to type all of those things. But that certainly could be something that's part of their offloading process. And maybe the individual didn't go through the process of typing all of this stuff, or they could have just copied and pasted it from something, because it does look very verbose.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to type all that.
They just hit a key and it goes out there. Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is it's where things are going, because the basic compliance work, be it bookkeeping, be it tax, is being automated, is going to AI. And that's just what's happening with QuickBooks Live and with TurboTax Live. Intuit is actually after the data and everything, so they can train AI to automate these tax returns and automate the bookkeeping and everything with AI. And so this is, in my opinion, this is pure opinion and conjecture and speculation, but that's part of what QuickBooks Live is all about, is getting all that data and training AI for their financial models so that they can automate all of that so AI can do that. And that's the same thing that I think, in my opinion, they're doing with TurboTax Live and everything, is the more tax returns they get and they complete, the more they can train the financial models to do the tax return and the things like that and stuff. And so we're just going to see more of the basic tax returns being done by AI. And Intuit, I think, is getting that so that they can use that data for training AI to train the financial models. And so many of us don't have the capacity. So I don't know if we should worry about these piddly 1040 clients anyway. Somebody mentioned in the chat that we need to have a relationship with our clients to where it's a personal relationship, and we're consulting with them and we're partners with them in their business, and we're doing advisory and consulting. And we're not worried that when Intuit comes along, or anybody, whether it's Intuit or Pilot or Bench or any other competitor, and comes along at a cheaper price, we should not be competing on price. If your client is going to come along and go to the next cheapest person, you're going to lose that client anyway. We don't want to compete on price. So it's
somebody
annoying.
said in the Facebook group that I was the best chat agent ever.
Yeah, you are. Yes. I mean,
and I
that's
didn't
why
pitch any services.
I was so thrilled when you were like, hey, I'm available. So I was like, great. So anyway, yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
So,
It just hurt. It's just a sore subject because they're a partner with us as well.
Yeah,
So that's why.
Yeah, we're going to use air quotes now for that, because I think somebody mentioned that in the chat as it was flying by, that we are partnered. And that partnership has taken a different course over the years. And we had a poll question a couple hours ago. Do you feel Intuit is in direct competition with your practice? And of the people that answered, almost half said it had no impact on their business. Great. That's great. Great to hear that it doesn't matter what the shenanigans of Intuit with regards to the QuickBooks Live or the tax services or what have you. But twice as many people have said they've lost clients than they've actually gained from these services. So that was a little bit of an eye-opening to me. I saw Jeff mentioned he lost 5 clients from QuickBooks to QuickBooks Live. So it is one of those things that, conform or be cast out, like Rush would say, or this is where we need to evolve, like you were mentioning, to
You know what?
shed our tails and crawl on the land.
You know what though? Just wait, because it'll change too.
Yep.
You may lose 5 clients now, and in another year or 2, you may get 10 more because of it.
Exactly. Yep. All right. This other post here is about, does anybody else keep getting bumped out of QBO today? It's happened like twice in the last hour. This is one of those things that if Hector was here, he would say, this drives me bonkers. Getting kicked out of QuickBooks Online. I really wish that there was an offline mode for QuickBooks and QuickBooks data, so that when things happen on the internet or you don't have an active internet connection, that you can actually work in your QuickBooks file. And then when you do have an internet connection, that information gets synchronized. That's the word I'm looking for. But there's tons of questions in the Facebook group. Is QBO down? I'm getting kicked out. I can't log in. I have to log in into an account on the desktop. Lots of questions and lots of answers for various login posts. But one of the things I did want to mention is there is, and there still is, a QuickBooks Online desktop app, which could keep you logged in, presumably for 6 months. Right. So when you download the desktop app and sign in, you don't have to keep signing in, or you don't get kicked out throughout the day. Right. There is a preference inside of each company file of how long you stay signed in, and you can do up to 3 hours. 6 months is a little bit longer than that. But you can access multiple companies, similar navigation to desktop. You can set up a desktop view. And for those people who are more comfortable with QuickBooks Desktop, it looks a little bit more like desktop than it does with QuickBooks Online. You can clear cache, temporary internet files whenever anything shows up weird. You can clear cache in that. But yeah, it's only good for QBO only. Anything that your QuickBooks needs to communicate with your computer might be a challenge. So printing, things like that. And then of course, all of your Write Tool extensions, all of those you do, swear by Write Tool by Hector, it won't be accessible in the app. There are some drawbacks to that, but it is, if you're just dealing with getting kicked out of QBO just for inactivity, this might be a good alternative. Michelle, were you going to say something?
Yeah, one thing I did want to point out about the desktop app is if you're like me and you tried it a couple of years ago and you said, oh my God, this sucks, I hate it, I'm going back to Chrome, you might check it out again, because until it pulled it and revamped it and did a V2 or V3 or whatever and relaunched it. So this is a newer, updated version that Dan is talking about here. So if you haven't checked it out lately in the last few months, I'd say go give it a try again. And if nothing else, if you're having a problem with QBO, use this. If for an afternoon you're getting kicked out all the time, use the desktop app.
Yeah, because that's the first thing that Intuit Support is going to tell you. Did you clear your cache and cookie? Did you try another browser?
Right.
That's my best Intuit Support impression there. But that's what they'll tell you first. So it's always a good idea to beat them to the punch and say, hey, yes, I've done that already. It was there was one person that I was trying to help in Connecticut, and I was in their books in Florida, and they asked me the same thing. Like, wait a minute, we're in 2 different companies, two different states, 2 different computers. Why would you have me clear my cache and cookies for this issue? Because they're seeing the exact same thing that I am. But I humored them and did it anyway. All right. So let's talk a little bit. We're coming in on the end here. So we really don't have much to talk about with QBO updates. I think we'll have to table those for another power hour. But I did want to mention that Chase Bank statement downloads are finally available inside of the bank feed. I have a Chase Bank account for my business, and I tested it out, and it worked.
Me too.
So finally, you can get your Chase statement in your QuickBooks. So I wanted to point that out there. I did want to have this last whole question of, in the last year, what has been your opinion of Brooks or Intuit? Has it increased, improved, stayed the same, declined? Maybe you want to put on some other unmentionables, or maybe it doesn't matter.
It won't let me answer the poll. I
They don't want
shall
to hear from you.
refrain. I will refrain from answering. But anyway, so this has been great, Dan. Thank you for pulling out some great discussion topics here. So always lots of good stuff. And I do appreciate everybody joining us during this busy time of year. So that's always awesome. So I think that's great.
All right. So next QB Power Hour, we're going to be talking about the Shopify commerce integration inside of QuickBooks. And we'll also have We Integrate for those of you that it doesn't work really well for. So we'll have another great session with the QB Power Hour, and it's always great to see you. So go hit the slopes, Michelle, and or at least watch your husband go down the slopes. And we'll see you next time on the QB Power Hour.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dan. Have a great day.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.